Hello, hello, and welcome to the Gothic jungle. So I just posted my Gothic plant tour of 2025, which has been doing really well. I'm very happy, so thank you all for tuning into that video. I know plant tours tend to do pretty well. I also find them to be one of my favorite types of videos to watch in the plant sphere, so I'm excited that seems to be a mutual feeling amongst other viewers. But going through all of my Gothic plants, I have different categories for them. I have different qualifiers that I'm like, okay, this counts as a Gothic plant. This one is just, a regular green guy. That would be like dark leaves, red leaves, purple leaves, silver leaves, things like velvety things, textures like spikes, odd shapes, things like that. But I figured why not just hone in a little bit on one of those qualifiers, which would be black plants. Considering the Gothic jungle, you probably immediately think of black plants. So today I wanted to go through 10 black plants that I think would be great additions to your collection. I have a couple of them. Again, like I mentioned, they're available in my Gothic plants video, but I will also try to include some clips in there today. But without further ado, let's get started. So when I do these plant lists, I like to list the plants in alphabetical order. So the first plant that I would like to talk about today is the Aeonium black rose. Now, I'm normally not a succulent person. Usually when I look for plants, I like dynamic leaves, interesting variegation or textures, but I really don't tend to gravitate towards succulents. But when I was looking around for some dark plants, this one really caught my eye because of how rich the leaves are. As you can see, it starts off with a little green and then tends to be more of a reddish pink as it gets a little more mature. And then that sun stressing is really what gives it that dark, unique look. And why it also caught my attention was because succulents don't tend to be that dark. They tend to be bright green or green with a little bit of variegation. So that was another unique point and why it caught my eye. Anthurium black velvet. Now this plant I mention a lot on this channel, mostly because I feel like it's a very basic plant. I know alocasias can be fussy, but it is more of a general plant that a lot of people do tend to have in their collections. I've found it relatively easy to take care of, other than when you get thrips in your entire collection. But I really do love this Anthurium. It's a very staple goth plant, staple black plant. Those leaves can get insanely dark. The back of the plant is very light. I think it has either red or purple veining on the back. But those leaves can get insanely dark and velvety, so the texture is very satisfying, especially with the added beauty of the kind of engraved pattern on the leaves. The next black plant I want to talk about is the Alocasia scalprum. Now, I have like little babies of these guys. I did have a full-size plant at one point, but when I went to study abroad for a little while, it did die, so that makes me a little sad, but hopefully I can get my little baby Alocasia scalprums up to a mother plant that is just as gorgeous as the one that you see in the photo here today. Again, sort of a similar sentiment to the Alocasia black velvet. I really enjoy that kind of engraved pattern on the leaves, but I just think that these guys are a little bit more dynamic and interesting, with a very straight arrowhead leaves that are very long. And I think these guys are, from what I remember, these guys are black all around. So like I mentioned before with the Alocasia black velvet, it's just black on that top part, but the backside of the plant is very light, whereas these guys, I'm pretty sure it's just black all around once you get that nice sun stressing. Also, the shape of the leaf kind of reminds me of a dragon's head. Moving on to the Begonia black blood. I am so excited to talk about this plant. I think I talked about it a little bit, or a very similar type of plant, in my wish list video. I think I had 15 plants that are on my wish list that I made earlier this year, but this plant is so beautiful to me. I know begonias are definitely like weirder plants. They tend to come in more interesting colors and leaf shapes, but this guy really caught my eye as a black plant because it's, I don't even know, it's just so dark and beautiful, and when you look up photos on the internet, all of them are extremely black. The veining is very interesting. It reminds me of just something being cracked, but they're all just so evenly done. It's a very, very interesting plant, and I believe the backsides are red, which I also love, and probably is what gives it its name. Next is the Begonia comerez. I have this plant in my collection. As I talked about in my Gothic plants video, this is the second time I've owned this plant. I accidentally killed it. But this one is a very, very fun black plant. Definitely a lot of personality. Those lime green veins that you see are really there in real life, and the stems are kind of a pinky red with a lot of spikes, and all of the leaves are just as beautiful as the one that you see here, and the leaves really are just straight up black. There's no transition in terms of it being maybe red and then black or purple and then black, kind of what you see with a lot of Anthuriums. This guy is black from start to finish. A very, very beautiful and fun begonia. Moving on to the Colocasia Black Magic. This guy is so beautiful and huge. These colocasias are known, I believe, for being really, really massive plants. Most people tend to grow them outdoors. I'm not sure what growing zone they are native to. If I find it out, I will display it on the screen. But I love seeing these on the internet. They tend to be very dark, and they come in a lot of different fun patterns, but the black ones are, surprise, my favorite. There is a girl online that tends to post colocasias a lot. She has really, really long nails and tattoos on her hands, but the way that she edits her videos just make the richness really come out in the leaves. They look very rich, very dark, and very, very black and beautiful. So this is the Hoya khroniana black. There is both the black one that you see before you and the non-variegated, I suppose, version of it, where the leaves are just green with some speckles on them. But this one has sort of both speckles, green, and more importantly, black. I have this plant in my collection, and quite frankly, it is much, much darker than the photo that you see before you. I've gotten it to be very sun-stressed, very happy, where the leaves are completely black on both sides, with just a little bit of green veining. What really made me love this plant and want to add it to my collection was that the veining gives it a reptilian look, very, very dinosaur-esque, I suppose. It's a very, very interesting plant. As you can see in the second photo that I have here, the Hoya blooms, which are always such a fun part to include when talking about Hoyas, are purple with like yellow stars, I suppose, in the middle. And Hoyas can get to be have that purpley green backs, but like I said before, I've gotten my Hoya to be able to have black on both sides just by giving it a lot of sunlight. But yeah, definitely a fun addition to my collection. This is the Ludochilus sea turtle orchid. That first word was a little bit difficult for me to pronounce, but that's okay. I have another jewel orchid in my collection called the lightning jewel orchid, which I've found to be pretty easy to take care of. I just keep it in one of my humidity boxes and I give it distilled water. So I'm hoping this guy is sort of the same type of care, but I thought that this guy would be fun to include because I don't feel like you wouldn't really think of a jewel orchid in this instance. I could see why it's called this, with the lining kind of reminding you of a sea turtle's back, which is very cute and beautiful, and I'm sure these guys put out some beautiful blooms. I also think that it's fun that it looks like they do have a bit of red backing, and that you get to see that transition of green plant to black plant as it gets more sun-stressed. This is the Scindapsus black mamba, and this plant is my favorite out of all of the ones that I've talked about in this video. I think it is such a weird and unique black plant. I love that it looks like the leaves are kind of bubbling. It is so strange and unique, and I've never seen a Scindapsus like this before. I believe they're supposed to be black on both sides of the leaves, and they are just so beautiful to me. I don't know how big they get. They look like they kind of seem to be smaller plants that are about maybe a little bit less than the size of the palm of your hand. But I really want to add this to my collection in the future because it is just such a unique plant. And for our final plant, this is the Solaneum ulaneum. Not sure if I'm saying it right, but this plant is so beautiful and it's been on my plant Pinterest board for a while now. They are such interesting climbing plants. I've seen people get really massive ones going from floor to ceiling if they can get them to grow really fast, but I love the delicate, almost like floweriness, flounciness of the leaves, and I love how dark they can get. I've also seen people vine this plant around like statues, kind of treating it more like an ivy vine than just a regular kind of vining plant, because I don't believe that the individual tufts of leaves that come out get too big, but a really interesting and unique plant that I hope to add to my collection in the future. So that is all I have for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed going through 10 black plants. Maybe you got some ideas on what to add to your collection if you're looking to add a little bit of spookiness, a little bit of darkness into your collection, maybe for some fun contrasts. Or maybe you just kind of like looking at what other types of plants are out there. Either way, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys soon. Video's over now. Bye!